What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Jack Ramsay's, Danny Marang, Brandon Sprague for a Friday mailbag. We're going to move some things around just because that's life. But we are going to dive into the last pre-draft mailbag. We will have you guys covered on draft day. We will be doing a live show, just not on location. On the radio draft day, I've got Corey Teleba of No Ceilings and Casey Holdall and the 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock hours, I believe. And then I've got Kristen Peak on Monday. And I don't know if do you guys have any more draft folks scheduled for the radio?
Not yet. I'm still working on some stuff over the weekend. I don't believe we're going to have anybody of that caliber. It's probably going to be more local-ish friends just giving
friends of the show
hot, spicy takes. You know what I mean?
I like friends of the show.
Friends of the show.
There you go. Brandon Sprague, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing, buddy?
Happy Friday. It's nice to do a pod. We are 5 days away. Daniel, I am jacked out of my mind for this. I've been excited about this draft for over a year. I know the draft isn't great. I understand these prospects could just very well not be good. But I like the draft. I think it's fun.
The draft is a blast.
I think it's great trying to guess, like, this guy's going to really work out and that guy's not going to be as good.
And then absolutely
it's about fit. It's about character. It's about teammates, about coaching. Like, there's so many aspects of it that you can't predict. And as questionable as the draft might be, the Blazers have 2 in the lottery. And I don't know. I get kind of excited about that. So I'm pretty amped up for it 5 days away, man.
Before we dive into the questions, have you ever had any, like, you're absolutely certain this guy is going to be good, like pre-draft opinion on somebody, and they just cratered?
Oh, that's a great question.
Or it went the other way. You're like, this guy sucks, and now like they're a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, so I'll start with the latter, actually.
Okay.
I'm trying to noodle on one that I love that wasn't good. Clay. So, fun story. I was at Oregon State when Clay was at Wazoo, and I saw Klay Thompson play at Oregon State twice. Knew about Klay Thompson, watched a lot of college ball, was following draft stuff at that point too. Went in person. The second game, the last time I saw Klay Thompson, he shot, I can't remember what he shot. It was like 3 for 14. He scored 9 points. He didn't do anything defensively. And I remember I looked at my friend that went with me, and I said, this guy's supposed to be a lottery pick? He's going to be terrible. And that was the take. And I stuck with it because I was a stupid kid who didn't couldn't pivot off the hot take.
Because you saw what you saw.
I saw what I saw.
Yeah.
Also, funny enough, I'll give you one that was kind of the opposite. Like, I saw him, and at the point I saw him, he wasn't being talked about a whole lot. Paul George at Fresno State came and played at Oregon State in a non-conference game, and I'm like, damn, dude, this guy has some stuff. But Clay is probably the best one of, there's no chance this guy's going to be that amazing. And now he's Klay effing Thompson, which, by the way, I'm happy to be wrong on that one. Trying to think of one, what'd you say, that I thought was going to be really good that just wasn't?
It bombed out.
This is an easy one for me. I was convinced of 2 point guards in Portland's history that if you would have told me they were going to be absolutely garbage, I would not have believed you. You couldn't have convinced me otherwise. Jared Bayless is definitely one of them because I watched him at Arizona in person, and then the summer
and he was jacked.
And he was jacked, and he was tough, and he was just like F you energy. And I fell into the movie trap. I did it. In fact, I got his jersey hanging in my garage, signed right now. The man, the pride of Coney Island, Sebastian Telfair, didn't care. I was convinced that once he got through that fire, he was going to be our point guard.
I'm so glad I wasn't here for that. So glad I wasn't here for that. That just watching that from literally the other side of the planet, I was like, oof.
You got to remember, though, I don't want to play too much revisionist history here. I'm way wrong. But you got to remember the moment. So that was what? That was the 04 draft? No, 05? 04?
05. No, 04 because 05 they passed on Chris Paul.
Okay, you got to remember, we didn't have a lot of access to watch high school games.
Sure, yeah. You had the documentary.
You know what I mean?
The hype
really
was there.
Internet. Yeah, the hype was there.
Al Gore's internet had not proliferated yet.
Right. So it was like kids score 70 points in game, and you're like, holy shit.
Like, you can do that?
This is Marbury's cousin? I'm in. And then I watched him play against the Bobcats. We got free tickets to a Bobcats game, Emeka Okafor, and we watched him in person. And I leaned back and I went, he can't shoot a lick. I think we're screwed.
Went down the road of, this guy sucks.
This guy's not good, not ready. I think he skipped college to not get exposed, actually.
I mean, it was an option back then.
Who's yours? Who's both of yours?
Mine are more recent.
Okay.
Noah Vonleh, I thought, was going to be the Greek god of basketball.
Pride of Bloomington, Indiana.
6'10", built in a lab, huge butt, enormous butt.
Big butt, yeah.
Great measurables, freak athlete, long-armed, just moved like a freaking deer, just graceful as hell at this just enormous size.
Oh, yeah.
Knocking down mid-range, 15-footers like it was nothing at Indiana. I'm like, this guy's going to be a monster. Like, just this, like, everything about this dude screams, I'm going to be so bleeping good. So good. He was not. And
yeah.
It was tough. Nice
Did
guy.
you realize it quick, or were you kind of like, year 3?
Yeah, it was like, he got here, and I went, ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, this. Yeah, when you get traded on your rookie deal as a top 10 pick, that's like a.
That's an immediate red flag. Yeah.
Yikes, dog! Unless you're a draft day trade, you know what I mean? Like, unless you're being swapped Wiggins for Love kind of a situation.
Yeah.
That's a tough year 1, year 2. You're like, now we're cutting the ripcord right out of the gate on this one. It's like, oh, that's a tough one. The one that I thought was not scale matters here.
Sure.
I didn't think he was going to be not good, but I dug my own grave. Somebody tweeted out something alongside Jason Tate. I think it's Surat Sohi, who has since deleted the tweet, which is in bad form. Keep your takes.
Keep your tweets up. Yeah. What we doing?
She said something about him going to China, and I said, and I replied to it with, "I'll take the odds on Greece or Spain." Again, sliding scale here. I was like being a bit hyperbolic to say the least. This was my that was the last year of my my Duke hatred really overtaking me.
Yeah.
Just because
I don't blame you there, by the way.
Ja Okafor was so bad.
Ja Okafor is a good one. So I'm playing in high school. Peyton Pritchard beat him at the Les Schwab, and I'm like, yo.
Like there was just the run of Duke players that were just not good.
Yeah. And
I'm like, I want nothing to do with Duke players ever again. Like Kyrie notwithstanding, I was like, no, I'm good.
Even Kyrie was still a question because he didn't play a lot. Like he got hurt early and he didn't come back.
He only played 11 games at Duke.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like how, whether you had a good or bad take on it, is like, I don't think in the moment there was a wrong take there. It was just like, I think he's incredibly skilled, or I think he's kind of raw and he doesn't have a lot of experience. I remember the two for me that have hit really well. One is I got in an argument with my now producer, Jason Swigard. The Celtics took round 3, and I said, I effing love it. They just got a franchise dude that's going to be a real one. And I remember Swag going, yeah, seems kind of passive. Don't think I like him that much.
That's a pretty good swag.
Okay.
That's pretty good swag. I got to give you that one.
And the other one would be, and this tweet sometimes still gets randomly retweeted at moments that don't make sense to me. It's not even that great of a take, to be honest with you. I just had eyes. I said Steph Curry was going to be the best player in his draft. I didn't think that was a hot take. I watched almost every Steph Curry game that was televised. And the fact that they thought Johnny Flynn and Ricky Rubio were the better picks over Steph, I thought it was idiotic. And so like I need to pin that tweet next time it gets retweeted so I can just have it at the top because it still lives. I was smarter than the Timberwolves GM when I was drunk in college.
Josh Jackson to Phoenix.
Ooh, that's a good one.
It's another one I thought was going to be really good.
Ron McCants. That was one for me.
Rashad McCants?
Rashad McCants, yeah. Swing and a miss.
No, not good. Not good at all. I'm trying to think of any others recently that I was Jabari Parker, but that's more injury than anything else.
Yeah, that's a sad one actually.
And obviously Mo Bamba. Bamba's a guy who, I had a lot of real estate on Bamba Island. It's now like what's the stock that completely tanked? I think you just say the guy that tried to buy the WNBA team. That's unfair. I'm sorry. That was not a fair shot.
Hey, I saw Mo Bamba live when they did the PK, the first PK. Texas and Duke and a bunch of other teams were here. We got done with our show, and we had a credential, so we just went down, and I literally sat, I think either where Paul Allen sat or across in the same seat. I watched Mo Bamba and Grayson Allen 5 feet in front of me. I would have been right there with you on Mo Bamba. I'm like, oh my God, look how big this guy is.
He's
How is this? And he was lengthy.
And just moved like you wouldn't believe.
Oh, I just was like, dude, the potential here, he just needs to be unlocked. But, it just, and this is why the draft is fun. Like, we could probably keep going on this, and you just don't know. You don't know who's going to hit, and if the circumstances are it, or if it's their mentals, or maybe we overhype the skill sets. You just don't know. And I know there's a lot of questions out here, Danny, but this is why I think the draft is fun. It's a big crapshoot, basically.
Yeah, I mean, the whole, like, I know this guy is going to do this. Like, it's easy to say that when there's no, you're not the one calling the shots.
Yes.
Like, there's been guys where I said, I'm very certain. Like, for me, that guy in the last 10 years is OG Anunoby. Like, if you go back and read my tweets coming into that draft, I think I mentioned it the other day during the solo pod was, I said, OG Anunoby is flat out going to be a wrecking ball for opposing NBA offenses.
Mm-hmm.
He will be a all NBA defender, hands down. Like, that I am 100% certain of. And I was dead serious. I'm like, this is, like, if there's one thing that I'm certain about in this class and in this guy is this dude is going to blow up NBA offenses. That was probably the most certainty I have had with a prospect in a long time. Like, that was just like, I watched film on him and I was just like, this dude is a monster. You could tell he was already big. It's not the same thing. They're not the same player, but frame-wise, it's the same thing I kind of see with Tijan Salon, where I'm like, he's already big and strong and has a high motor. I'm like, he's going to put on like 20 more pounds. If the rest of the stuff comes together, that's the thing, is OG showed the rest of the stuff, earlier on, or I guess actually later on because going through school. But that was like, that's kind of the same kind of thing that I saw with him, was just like, oh, this dude's really big and strong. And like, have you ever seen OG up close?
I don't think I've been to a Raptors game or recently a Knicks game. So no, I don't think I've seen him up close.
So big, dude. Like, he's just like, we throw around like 6'8", 230, like, oh, it's normal. It's normal. It's like, there's different like types of 6'8", 230. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's every bit of like, oh, Kawhi.
Yes.
Kawhi's the same way.
Kawhi is incredible in person. You're like, oh my God, his legs are as wide as my entire body.
You put both his legs together, they're wider than his midsection. You're like,
yes,
that's good for you.
Yeah,
good for you. But like, OG was just one of those guys right out of the gate. All right, we got a billion questions to get through, so let's now everybody's starting to finally let's dive into some questions.
Okay, here we go. Draft week is here, 5 days away. There's going to be a lot to discuss. I'm trying to be fair here and scroll all the way back where it possibly starts. Here we go. All right, here we go. From 1 to 10, this one's from Shelby. How active do you expect the Blazers to be on draft night completing trades?
I expect them to be active. I sliding scale of activity. I think they've already been active in a sense of like checking in on things. It's not a secret that, roster-wise, they can't roster everybody, including all of the picks, so things have to happen. And then decisions are going to be made as far as how things kind of matriculate down. I know this gets said pretty regularly, like, this is going to be a busy draft. I think this is going to be a busy draft. Not just for Portland, but I think league-wide, because it has to be.
Yeah, I think if we just kept it to our team, though, too, I think it's pretty fair to put that scale pretty high up there because of what you mentioned, the roster spots. And also, like, do they want all of those picks? Are they going to negotiate away? Like, is Malk going to be on the roster after the draft? I'm fascinated by it, but what are you shaking your head no for?
Nothing.
I think he's going to get traded on draft night. That's been my take for a while. Pick 14. This one from Cap Kirk. Pick 14 and Brogdon or Matisse for a second top 10 pick. Worth it?
Depends on where you're sending him to. Like if you're moving up to 9, moving up to 8, okay. That's probably the highest I would pay.
You know what team I can't get a read on? Utah. What does Utah want to do? Is Utah trying to get good quick, or is Utah taking a similar approach to us?
Similar approach with the exception of a superstar becoming available. Like if Luka Doncic had flamed out in this playoffs and he's like looking for a way out, Danny Ainge would be ready to pounce.
Yeah.
And I think he's looking for like the 25-year-old superstar. He's not looking for Paul George or James Harden or Kawhi Leonard. He's looking for, I want somebody that's going to give me the 5-year window. You know what I mean? Like that's the kind of, like Cat's not that guy. PG's not that guy. Jimmy Butler's not that guy. But you're not that guy, pal. But I think they're looking for that. That's the opportunity that they're waiting to pounce for. Somebody somewhere that got drafted somewhere who's got legitimate star quality, who's just not happy where they are. And then swoop. But otherwise, I think they're on the same path.
White Star in Utah would make a lot of sense, actually.
That Doncic jersey would go $1 billion platinum in that city.
You imagine seeing Luka at a hockey game in Utah?
You wouldn't be able to pick him out.
I know. This one from Rip City Squid. In reality, Clingan isn't projected to be as good as Ayton and doesn't fit the team's desire to be fast-paced and athletic. Would you be disappointed, confused, if we drafted him over, for instance, Cody Williams? This question, I would assume, stems from the latest Espen mock, where our friends Jeremy Wu, shout out the Wooster, and Jonathan Gavoni, their latest mock has Portland taking Clingan at 7 and Jacoby Walter, who I heard a little bit about today on my show, at 14. What say you on the Clingan, the fit, the desire to be fast-paced and athletic, which I always love that we know that they want to be fast-paced. What say you on the Clingan stuff?
Look, there's two different schools of thought here. Okay, I have personally said I don't think the Clingan thing makes a ton of sense.
And can you elaborate on?
Yeah. There's a couple. I'm trying to think of the best way to kind of walk through this. Individually by himself, I like Clingan as a player. The best case scenario I've heard a scout reference is like, what if he figures out how to like hit a 15-footer or a 3, and he's kind of like a Marc Gasol light? Mm-hmm. Like, that's a pretty damn good player. But I don't understand if you have this guy in Scoot who's a rim pressure guard, who's going to turn the corner and get downhill, to put him with a big that neither stretches the floor nor offers a pick and roll, like rim pressure vertical threat. He's not a lob guy. He's not a pick and roll guy as far as like catch roll. Like he's catch roll playmake. Like that I believe in. I don't know how much I believe in him being like pick and roll partner for Scoot, pick and roll partner for Shea, pick and roll partner for Ant. I don't truly understand that fit. I'm not saying that archetype is necessarily a bad thing, but so much has been said and done with the roster to be what? Bigger, stronger, longer, more athletic. Be able to deploy multiple types of defenses. You can switch, you can hedge, you can blitz, you can trap. Look, say what you want about Chauncey. He's been aggressive in multiple schemes. Man, zone, mixtures, half-court traps, full-court pickups. Like, you can't really do a lot of that stuff if your big is essentially a drop big. And I think the drop big thing has become like a bit of a misnomer. Like, it's a bad thing. You can't just run drop. Yeah, you can. You can. You can be really good at it. Like, that's a thing. Like, it's okay. It just changes and limits what else you can do. And I think Chauncey has said it and Joe has said it, I think almost in this exact phrasing, they want to be multiple. And a guy like Donovan Clingan or Zach Edey to that extent, the same thing, and slightly different caveats, but they don't allow you to be multiple. So you're going from like being more aggressive athletically to being less aggressive athletically. And I understand that there's a big trade-off in, real quick off the top of your head, who's the best screening big in the NBA right now?
Best screening big. I mean, Brooke is pretty good. Steven Adams, when healthy, is still pretty good.
The guy that used to be here is really good.
Nurk is good. Yeah, I'll give him that. I think, he may not be the best. I like AD when he's picking and rolling. Like, I'm okay with that.
He's
popping.
He's a good threat as a
That's
popper
what I'm saying.
roller. But I'm talking about as a screener.
Just solid screeners. Yeah, those guys.
Okay. How many of those guys are switchable bigs?
Not a ton of them.
So that's kind of the trade-off, right? Is if you want to have good screening, because the Blazers, they were probably the worst screening team in the league last year. Mm-hmm. In all seriousness, I mentioned it on. I think I mentioned it on the radio the other day. They had to abandon parts of their playbook last year because they just couldn't run them effectively because they weren't. It was just window dressing, and I've seen a lot of people say, "Well, it's coaching." It's like, no, man, screening like defense is a skill. Can guys get better at it? Sure, but you either have it or you don't. Like Zach Edey had Sam Vecini on, recorded with him the other night. And he's like, Edey loves the screen. He's like, I want to crush people. Like, that's a thing. Mm-hmm. Like, you have to have somebody that wants to kill people with screens. Because here's the thing. Everybody talks about how it's like, oh, it's a screen. It's like, brother, you are screening 230, 240-pound athletes that are obscenely strong. And they're not, like, shying away from you. They're throwing an elbow. They're going through you. They're going to hit you in the junk. They're going to bump you. They're going to bang you. And when you're doing that 35, 40 times a night while you're banging down low for rebounds, pushing guys away, grabbing guys, like, that is a big ask. Like, when you talk about the modern day big and what they have to do, there's a reason why guys like DA and even Joel Embiid and Jokic want to slip picks so much.
Yeah.
Because it's one less time they got to run into another really big human at a fast speed, right?
Or especially those smaller players that are always trying to get around them, and now you're hitting exposed legs, and it's like, okay, now my knee hurts a little
awesome.
bit.
Thanks to that knee to the inside of my knee, you little prick. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, it's a real thing. So, like, you have to kind of decide which way you want to go with that. And if you look at a team like OKC, they've got good guard screeners while Chet is terrible. Like, that was their kind of counter to it. And maybe that's something Portland looks at. I don't know. But I understand. This is a long roundabout way. This is why I want to take my time with this, because it's a big philosophical question. It would be a reversal of course from what they have said they want to do, to have a vertical rim threat, have that rim pressure, have somebody who wants to dive. To that extent, DA hasn't exactly been that, because he wants to take that mid-range pull-up. The thing that I will highlight, they went after Tavares from Real Madrid, who's like, what is, God, how big is he? Eddie Tavares is 7'3", and I think he's about 280. I think that's what he's at. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 276. Heaven forbid I was off 4 pounds. But he's a massive dude. And he does have some more vertical presence. But it's not like he's playing above the rim all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and then, this is a lesser extent, they signed Moses Brown. Why? Because he's really freaking big. Mm-hmm. So, maybe there's like a case where they want to have both. Or they want to see, hey, does it make more sense to have a screening big with Scoot than a guy like DA? I don't know. Like, that's the thing. It's like, would I be frustrated they took Clingan at 7? I would be lying if I said no. But I could understand the reasoning. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I understand the logic behind it. If you have him like 3rd on the board.
Yeah, but so what you said there about DA though, you kind of like, because I'm somebody that, like, if they take Clingan, I'm totally cool with it. I'm not like, oh, man, like, first of all, I'm not really sure we can say the last 2 seasons they've established much of an identity as a team in general. And the thing with Clingan is, I know he wasn't playing high volume minutes, but what did he measure at with socks? 7'2"?
7'1" and 7'1", 7'5". So he's legit 7'3" in shoes, and he's 280 pounds.
Okay.
He's a massive. He's the same size as Tavares. He's huge.
And you can certainly say, like, DA, the way he ended his season, hey, look at this. His production clearly went up, but you kind of highlighted it there. Maybe they've evaluated the Scoot situation. They're getting a guy from a proven program that has clearly been coached really well. And they're saying, what happens if Scoot has way more space to operate because some big-ass dude laid out his guy? And also, let's just be honest. Let's just throw it out there. DA's 25. He's going to be 26 in a month.
Do you want to commit to the contract long term? And those are questions that
I could see
asking.
him being gone by the deadline next year. And it's like, well, you need a center. And this guy's really good at freeing up our point guard who's quick and good at attacking and kicking out. So I get it. I get it. It would make sense to me. And I think the thing that I would add to it too, Danny, is in reading some of these, and I know we all kind of doing this and maybe there's nothing to it. But damn it, if anything Jonathan Givony doesn't write about the draft, if I'm not reading it as if Mike Schmitz is telling this guy straight up, and Portland's, if he is there for them, they're thrilled, that tells me he's 1B on their board. They love this dude. And if he falls to him, I think they're going to take him. And that kind of gets me excited because maybe there's a reason for it. There's a plan for it in what they're doing.
For sure.
So I just
that's why I said I wouldn't be against it, but I don't think I'd be wholly for it. And it's more of a fit based on what they've already done. It's not that you can't change. If anything, I'm probably more willing to change than anyone. But I need to be one of those things where I would need to hear the rationale behind it. Which, if they took Clingan at 7, I will be there.
Yeah,
in the press conference, and I will ask that question about that preference of like what they have stated both publicly and privately they want to do, and then to go that path.
One little thing, and this is just my 2 cents. It's tea leaf reading season for me. Mm-hmm. I've been keeping track of the profiles the team's been sending out from old Casey Holdahl.
I'll tell you right now, it's just they're just running through them.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just telling you.
He wrote one on Donovan. I'm just saying he just wrote one on Donovan.
They started at the top and worked their way back. I'm just telling you.
This one from Bruce. Do you think they will make a move before the draft? So the draft night question, is there a chance they make a move before the draft?
Yeah, I think they could. Preemptively. I don't think it'll necessarily have anything to do with the draft per se. Because I don't think they do anything until pick 3, unless Atlanta trades back. Because I don't think you're going to know until Houston's on the clock how things are shaking up. Because there's it's prime smokescreen season. It might as well just fill the place with fog. There's real noise about Donovan Clingan going first.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like the noise has been Ricochet the last week or so.
Yeah. Telling you.
Smokescreen?
There's been real noise that Donovan Clingan is going first.
Okay.
So, and if that happens, Washington. So I'll get it. Screw it. I'll do into a little bit of the intel part of this. Sarr doesn't want to go to Atlanta.
He hasn't worked out for him, and
They're trying to steer him away from there. There's also the idea that I think Jake Fisher might have reported this too, but this has been out there for the last couple of weeks about why he doesn't want to go down there. Is because he wants to play the 4. He doesn't want to be a 5. Mm-hmm. The little Anthony Davis situation. I think he wants to hezzy tween a little bit. And okay, but Washington is more kind of a metropolitan city. It's got Bilal Coulibaly, who's a friend of his, also French national. Atlanta organizationally, they have to figure a lot of shit out. What are they going to do with Capella? What are they going to do with Trey? What are they going to do with DeJounte? Are they going to keep DeAndre? They have, outside of Jalen Johnson, it's Anokongwu. It's I don't know.
Right.
And if you're a rookie, is that the situation you want to find yourself in? And also not have a clear path to minutes. Whereas Washington, I've heard like Sarr, but they also like Ricochet.
Mm-hmm.
There's a world that exists where you could see Clingan 1, Ricochet 2, and then Sarr is on the board at 3.
And Houston, all the intel is Houston wants out.
Or to take Reed Shepherd.
Yeah.
So does Sarr fall to San Antonio? Or if you're Portland, do you look at moving up there?
Sarr with Wemby would be terrifying. You have a guy whose entire reputation in this draft is defense, paired with the guy who, by the way, book it now. I don't
Defensive
care if
player
you're
of the year
scared
for
of
the next
injuries.
decade.
He's winning Depoy.
Yeah,
He's winning the damn Depoy next year.
He's going to set the record for most won. As long as he's healthy, that's the literal only caveat.
Yes.
Legitimately. There was a good case for him to win it this year. He's the best defensive player on the planet. It's just
Danny, we're gonna get, we're gonna end up with, right? This is all gonna lead to Sarr going to the Spurs, and we're gonna end up with the Spurs in the finals
with our Twin Towers again
against God knows who, and they're gonna win 71-68 because nobody can score on these guys.
No, but they're gonna be able to score too because Wemby can already score. That's the terrifying thing. But like I said, I don't think that's a likely outcome. But that's something I've heard is like legitimately on the table.
It doesn't sound crazy.
Because nobody really knows.
Right.
That's the thing is like, that's the scary part of this draft. Is like you're doing your prep and, every good, drafting team does this where they go, okay, we're on the clock, click, if you're team X, team Y, team Z, and you go through it and that way you don't have time to prep and how you would react. You've got to do like 50 different scenarios for the first like 5 picks.
Right.
And it's like, okay, we have if this pops up, and then inevitably you get a phone call about a trade that you didn't expect.
Mm-hmm.
And now what do you do? And you're like, did you see the video of the Carolina Panthers when the Rams called them about moving up?
Oh, yeah, I did.
He gets a text message like, hey, they're giving us another second next year. Woo! Like it was a real life reaction of like he's like shit yeah send that in. That's Sam Presti when he told them that they could get Caruso for Giddey straight up.
Giddey.
Send it now before he asks about picks. Send it now. Like that's the kind of thing is you just don't know what's going to happen in the war room, and I think you can do as much preparation as you want, but like. Everybody keeps asking, what do you think this? Like, I think X, Y, and Z based off all of my intelligence here and discussions with scouts there and executives here. Mm-hmm. I have gotten so many mixed messages from so many people, man. It's just, like, it's normal. There's normal draft like smokescreens, and then there's this. And there's so much mixed messaging and very strong opinions that some people have on some guys and very weak opinions that on those, like, I don't know, I guess, and it's just, it's going to be very difficult for every GM on Wednesday.
I think it was Rosillo I heard say something funny was like, I've talked to people who said their entire board looks nothing like the mocks. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of teams that fall into that. And it's like, crap, we can't have this different, like, basically insinuating that GMs don't want to have such different mocks of their own.
Well, that's a real thing, and he actually credited Neil O'Shea on that.
He did. The line, yeah, that's who it was.
Yes, drafts would be different. And I think Neil is right here. Drafts would be a lot different if mocks didn't exist. Mocks. And because it becomes groupthink.
Yes.
Because a perfect example, recently, the trade. Caruso and Giddey. If the Bulls had known the pushback on the trade would be this violent,
they wouldn't have done it.
Well, they would have gotten at least one first. They would have at least gotten number 12.
They would have got draft capital.
They would have at least gotten number 12 because they probably sitting there like celebrating, high fiving. Yeah, we got Giddey. Oh God, everybody thinks we screwed the pooch. Because now your owner's going, what are you doing? Why are you
doing anything?
But you know what I mean. Like
the proverbial.
That's what gets people fired.
Yes,
it's perception. What are you doing?
I do not know what they're doing in Chicago. I just waiting for the pick package.
I don't. Did you hear Bobby Marks today on the Low Post? On that trade?
No.
He goes, I got 2 text messages as soon as the trade happened asking me from GMs, asking me if I could trace down what the draft capital was in the deal. So this isn't like NBA Twitter is like, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. Like other GMs are like, how many picks did they give up? Which ones did they give up? Like that's where everybody was with this. Like,
do you know how mad every GM was when they found out there was no picks given? Like, are you kidding me?
We could have gotten Caruso. You know what I mean? Like that's what happened.
Oh,
so, but that's the wrench that gets thrown into the draft every year. Of like, I go back to 2018 when Cam Johnson goes 11th to the Suns, and everybody goes, he was 30th. Like, what's happening here? Like, and all of a sudden there's like a mad scream. Like, what did he know? What did they know that we don't know? Like, and then there's a whoa kind of a swell that just kind of comes over the draft. And like, I think you're going to have that like starting at pick 1.
I hope we do. I
think
want the chaos.
I think it's going to be chaotic as hell. All right, I've taken too much time. Let's move on to back to these questions.
Here we go. Nerd Runner. He's got a multi-faceted question. I'll just kind of do the first one here. Is Portland completely not on the table for Castle? Says he's hearing more trade up to rumors. This kind of goes what we just talked about, trading up to the 3 for the Houston pick, assuming Sarr seems like a lock at 2. And then as kind of a follow-up, he says I think Ricochet is a perfect fit as off-ball guy. I guess I would just say on the Ricochet part, like, he's not falling to Portland. I have a hard time seeing that. But is Portland completely not on the table for Castle?
Castle's workouts have been very controlled. I'm still working to confirm whether or not Castle did a workout here. Somebody told me he did. Somebody else told me he didn't.
Does he know we have a point guard?
Yeah, and that's the thing is where I was like, okay, I don't think he did. But I'm still efforting that. As an aside, I will have a mock draft coming out. I think I have it slated to go out on Monday. I'm gonna wait and do the weekend, double check all my intel before I push it. With that, I will have the finalized draft workout board for the Trailblazers. I think it's up. Actually, I can tell you right now. It is at. It is at how many players? 46. 46 players have worked out for the Trailblazers.
Well, they just had their second round guys in 2 days ago. So.
Yeah, I was there for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's 46 including those guys.
Do you think he's off the table for them?
Yeah, I think he is. I think he's very highly rated. I do like Castle. I think he's trying to steer very, very hard to San Antonio. I think that is the situation there. Beyond that, I think Portland likes Ricochet. I just don't think they're in the move up for him type.
Yeah.
That's like, I could see them moving up for Saloon, and by moving up, I mean from like 14 to 10.
Sure.
Like, I could possibly see that.
His range is wild to me, by the way. I know we got some Saloon questions, and we'll get to him, but his range is wild. I'm like, is 7 a reach, or is it that 8 to 13 range? Is he gonna be there at 14?
7, I think, is the highest he goes, unless San Antonio takes him at 4.
Yeah.
Which they could. Which if they do, that was like, oh no, they know he's gonna be good.
He's gonna be Giannis Jr. next to Wemby.
You're like, oh god. Cody will go as high as 5. I've heard the Pistons do like him. So, as it pertains to workouts, I don't think I mentioned this last week. In the big workout, the 6-man workout, Salon, Edie.
The 3-on-3.
Yeah, I heard Salon and Edie were the two that shined in that practice or in that workout.
Okay, so my boy Zach Edie.
I've heard Edie has had some really good workouts. So.
Good for him. I contrary to how everybody feels about him, he's a lightning rod. I'm rooting like hell for him. Seems like a good dude.
Yeah, that's the thing. I had Vicini on. He's like great dude. Like as a human being, he said the same thing about him and Clingan. Just great dudes. Like
my thing about it is, and I know it's not like necessarily something that you want to brag about as a skill set. They just seem like pros. They just seem very mature,
like that's a real thing. Yes, you're not wrong, dude.
I think that's important. Here we go. This one's from Rob. If Clingan falls to Portland, what is the likelihood that we would keep him instead of trading down to get more assets? Memphis, for example.
I could see that, but if they were going to do that, I think they'd want something more than like Santi Aldama back. I think they'd want something a little bit richer. Because by doing that, not only are you giving up Clingan at that spot, you're giving up the ability to take either Cody Williams or Tijon Salon at 8 because San Antonio's in between. You know what I mean? So I think if it is a deal that you make, you see what San Antonio does first, and then you make the deal.
It's not something that's like impossible, but I remember last year doing the draft with you, and when they took Scoot, I remember reacting to it on social media like that, because it just hit me like, man, this Dame thing's over. And the amount of people, shut up, they're trading him. He had some old crusty reporters in the market. They're like, they're not keeping. There's no way. And I'm just like, I don't know about that, guys. And I kind of feel that way. If they take Clingan, maybe I'll be wrong. I feel like they're just going to keep him. I think they like him.
I do too.
Okay.
I'm with you on that. I'm saying, does that opening exist if the right offer came along? Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. I think Joe would be open to it. All right. This one from Rip City, DC. If they had the choice, do you think they would go Cody Williams or Saloon?
Bruh, where's a
This
coin?
one's tough.
Where's a coin?
I know.
Depends on what day and what time of day. Like, if for me, like my rule for this, if they're on the same tier, go with size. So I'd go Salon. I think Cody could end up being really good. I do. Like, I genuinely, Cody's ability to slither in traffic, even without being strong, it reminds me of Shea to an extent, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Not saying they're the same player, but very chill.
No,
But
I know what you're saying.
He has this incredible ability to turn sideways and just slide and just slither through. It's incredible. Like, every time I watch him, and even there's times like where he looks like he's off balance and falling, and like there's no way that shit's going in, and it, like he just like throws something up and it just goes, and it just falls through the net, and you're like, the hell was that? Like, and I think if you build out from there, because I do believe in the shooting, even though it's a small sample size, I actually like his jump shot. I think just with some minor tweaks, I particularly I like his jump shot coming in, his secondary transition stuff. But there's just something about him. I'm like, I think he could have a higher level skill set than what Salon does, but I also think Salon could be a guy that's super impactful as a really, really high role player, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think to our conversation a couple weeks ago, I think if they're pressed into that position, I think you roll the dice with a slightly more questionable prospect of, hey, maybe the ceiling is higher. I think they'd also go with the size there. But
6'10" guys that are 220 that have a high motor aren't common.
Yeah.
Like, scarcity is a real thing when you're talking about the draft, and that's that. Typically, I will go down that path.
But Cody's still got. I mean, Cody can get bigger. We know that physically. He barely weighs more than I do, and I'm all of 6.5.
Yeah.
But the skill set's more there. And so maybe they just view that as like something like, let's get him up weight-wise, and he can operate better. I think they'd go Salon there. This one from Keegan. Now that Keegan Murray's in the league, I finally have a player that's the same name as me. Who is your favorite player that you share a name with?
In basketball, kids jokingly called me Danny Manning when I was growing up because Danny Marang is very close to Danny Manning, much like Dan Marino.
Yeah, touche.
A lot of DMs when I was growing up. Dan Marley, Danny Ainge. I wasn't really a fan probably of any of those guys.
Well, Daniel's a pretty popular name. Danny, you know.
I mean, in the sporting world, it's really not. If you really think about it, it's not a ton. Now let's find some Brandons. I mean, there's a long list.
The Roy one was always a big one. I loved his game, and then he went to UW. My cousin went to UW, so I loved Brandon Roy. Ingram?
Somebody said Danny Fortson. Danny Granger's a good one. Danny Granger's game.
Danny Granger? I love Danny Granger.
I would murder people in NBA 2K with Danny Granger. They had no idea it was coming.
Dude, him and Michael Redd, underrated.
Oh, God.
Problems.
2K killers.
Oh, man.
Yeah. No, those just bucket getters.
This one from Open Mike Knight. Do you think Ron Holland is a possibility at 14, and do you think he'd be a good fit on this team? All right, that's we've answered that question. Danny is completely out on Ron Holland. We'll see what the Crone Zone says about that. This one from He-Man.
Just say, let him go spread his wings somewhere else.
By the way, for the podcast-only crowd, and shout out to our YouTube audience as well, Danny was just shaking his head visibly no. There was not much of an answer there. It was just an instant nodding. No, not a chance. This one from T-Man. Why is Garland such a hot prospect, but Ant isn't? Even though they're basically the same age, average the same stats. Ant makes 25 mil, Garland 40 mil.
Only thing Garland is slightly better at is defense and passing. Meanwhile, Ant is a better shooter.
The defensive passing thing's a big deal, though. And, like, I love Ant.
Other than the other side of the court.
Yeah, it's like...
And
look, Ant... He's not going to be mad that I said this. Hell, I've said it before. Ant told me one time when they moved him to the 1, he's like, I need people to, like, lay off me about turnovers. I'm playing point guard for the first time in my life, and I'm doing it in the NBA. This shit is hard. Like... And that's the difference. Is Darius Garland has been a point from the jump. Like, Garland to me, and this is probably going to like people like, what? Garland to me is the closest thing to Dame in the NBA. Legitimately. Like, Ant's footwork is the closest thing to Dame because it's literally the same.
Well, he works out with, I mean, that helps a lot.
But I mean, like, his footwork is the exact same as Dame's on a host of moves, particularly a step back. It's exactly the same.
Yes.
And there's a lot of Dame's game that goes into Ant's game as well. But Garland Ant, you don't have to tell it to shoot. Ant's good to get him up. Garland, you have to force to shoot. And so there's a give and take there. But I think Garland is a better table setter. Ant is the guy that if you want somebody to run your offense, but like run it in more of a Damian Lillard style, where you're more of not a shot hunter, but a shot creator, where Garland, you really didn't, he was pushed to the side with Donovan Mitchell. And I think that's the thing is like you saw Darius Garland be an all-star point guard without Donovan Mitchell. Like a really, really, really good player. And I think Ant's an incredibly good player, but I think the difference between where they are as playmakers, I think Garland has him by a pretty substantial margin. And again, that's not a shot at Ant. Garland is a very good playmaker. I think defensively it's less so, but it's definitely there, even if Ant does beat him as a shooter. And Garland is no slouch as a shooter. So I think that's why the perception and the reality of Garland as a floor setter, he's got a little Mike Conley in him. He's a little bit better of an organizer. If that makes sense, where I think Ant is still learning how to do that.
This one from a Blazers fan. What is your biggest hot take in the draft that other people would think you are a complete fool for having?
It was originally Salam would be a lottery pick, and people were like, I don't see it. That was
that's unfortunately not a hot take.
Yeah, that was like back in October, November.
It's a tough draft to have a hot take in. You know what I mean?
It really is. I think another one I had, I think I said Khalil Ware would probably end up being a lottery guy, and sounds like he's on the edge, but he's
right on that edge. Yeah,
like I think the highest he gets is lottery. Man, Ron Holland not being worth a lottery pick. And again, I've had that since January?
Yeah.
I think I said that back then.
Whenever you saw him at the G League game.
Yeah, I had watched film on him leading in, and then I watched him play in person, and like, it's kind of fun that you mentioned the Klay Thompson. Like, you saw him play twice. I saw Ron play twice, but I watched a crap ton of film on him. And I hope the best for Ron because I love his mentality and his attitude. I just don't know if he's willing to take a step back and be a role player after being given so much freedom with the Ignite. And I don't know if I want Portland to be the team to do that. I think it has more to do with that than really anything else. What about you?
I'm trying to think of hot takes. I don't know if I have a hot take per se. I'm not really a hot take guy in general. I would say I'll do more career comps. I'm going to say Dalton Connect is going to be KCP.
Okay.
Which I like that.
He's got to turn on the defensive ability, not the intensity, the ability.
Yep. And then I'm going to go Zach Edey as
Valanciunas. There's my hottest take possible.
I mean, if he can, be effective more than 2 feet away from the rim, it changes a lot.
Yeah.
Because that's my pushback with him. I had that discussion with the scout.
It's a fair pushback for sure.
It's like, I don't know if I can sit there and like, hey, he's my backup big. Like, to get any value out of him, I have to post him up. Like,
I know the fit's an interesting part, but
I like him. I think he's good.
I think in the right place, he's impactful.
And that's the thing is the right place. This one from Fletch Daddy. Would you trade Ant 14 for Keldon Johnson 8 and a future second-round pick?
No, because Keldon Johnson's probably already being traded to somebody else.
Alrighty. You want to just throw a team out there? Or you just want to leave us all on the edge?
Just we'll see. We'll see.
No?
What happens.
Okay. All right. Great. This one from Dick Burns. You know this one from your military time, Danny.
Ew.
Dick Burns. How uncertain
bull
are
bond.
you? How uncertain are you about this draft and what is going to happen? Feels like no one knows what's going to happen. I'm receiving a lot of conflicting info from sources.
No one knows what's going to happen. Anybody who tells you they know what's going to happen is out of their freaking mind.
A lot of Pinocchios out there now.
There's no one knows what's happening. There's a reason why every single mock draft is not like kind of different, but different, because it tells you whose sources are people are using.
I was watching the No Ceilings pod last night. They did a live mock draft, and shout out those guys, man. They work really hard.
They've been working like crazy
They have.
content.
But it was so funny. They were live. I was watching it. They had just done 6. They did Charlotte, so now they're on the Portland Trailblazers. And the poor guy, I'm blanking his name, but the poor guy was on, and he just was like, Who did you take? And then he was basically like between 2, and he ended up kind of saying both names at the pick. It was just hilarious to watch it because like there's so many avenues these teams can go down, and he did the old media trick of, Portland's an interesting team. He was doing the thing to buy himself some time
To think about it even longer, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's just like I'm watching this live, and I'm like, Oh, buddy, I've been there before. I know exactly what you're doing.
I texted Corey was on. It was either I can't remember. He might have been on with you guys or somebody else. I can't remember who he was on with. But Corey Tullaba from No Ceilings. I texted him, quit sending Ron Holland to Portland, you jerk. He's like, I don't know who to send there. That's
exactly.
But that's kind of the back and forth we've gotten into, and it's just been, talking to whether it's Sam, whether it's Kristen, whether it's Wasserman, whether it's the guys at No Ceilings, like whether it's to Jeremy Wu, it does not matter. Like I've been talking to every single draft expert for the past 6 weeks, and then checking in with executives and agents and trying to get a feel on things. Brother, nobody knows a damn thing other than the teams themselves, and even then they don't know until that pick gets sent in. Like it truly is the most chaotic draft I've ever seen.
That's why I was excited for it, man.
It's gonna be interesting. Like that's
gonna be entertaining.
Like no matter what, it's gonna be entertaining.
This one from Chris. What guys in this draft would you take over Scoot, Sharp, or Tomani?
I mean, look, I love to, and you guys are making me be a dick about this because there's a stark difference between two Ceiling and Scoot and Shaden. It's like,
yes,
there's probably 15.
Let's just keep it to Scoot and Sharp. I don't think I take. I mean, maybe Sar.
Yeah, it's probably.
Other than that,
it's probably it.
I think that's it for me with Sharp, Scoot.
Yeah. No, I would take Sar over, I think, Scoot.
Yeah,
not over Sharp. Again, size matters, as it were.
But
I think that's about it.
Sar's the only one I'd consider over Shea.
Yeah, I don't think I would.
Okay.
I think Shea can scratch that like actual team leading score itch that just so few guys can.
Rob Blaze. Oh my God. Rob Blaze, I know I would be disappointed. I was excited to. Oh, no, I'm sorry. He's responding to a question. That's my bad. Okay, here we go. This one from Jimmer's Army. Is Scoot, Jabari Walker, Tumani, Chris Murray, Dwap, Rupert, Ryan, Rupert, and any others I'm missing participating in Summer League? Who on the current roster planning to play Summer League?
Roops is the only one I know. I don't think Wap's done 4 or 5. He's done. He's 28.
Barry doesn't need to do this anymore.
Barry's graduated from it. I think Shea will be down there with Team Canada practicing because Canada and U.S. are playing like 3 days before Summer League, 2 days before Summer League starts, something like that.
Yep.
Scoot might be down there with the select team. I've been told it's kind of an up to him situation for Summer League. I'd like him to go out there and Devin Booker that thing. Go absolutely bury somebody, get them to talk shit to you like Luis Montero, and then drop 25 points on them in a quarter and go, all right, we're good here.
Yep.
Still the most unhinged shit I've ever seen at Summer League.
Well, he's insane. He also complained about defense in a pickup game.
But for those that are unaware, Luis Montero, who was on the Blazers for a very short amount of time, was talking cash shit to Devin Booker. He scored, I think, 22 straight and 25 on him in the quarter. And it was, oh, God, please stop. Please stop. He's already dead. It was.
I don't know how much longer Luis was in the league after that.
It was.
Not very long.
Tough. It was. Watching a live snuff scene that's hard.
I don't need to see him for the whole league. I'd like to see Chris in there a little bit.
I think Chris has probably graduated.
Okay. That's fair.
I think you're going to see the draft picks, a ton of free agents, Roops, and Baji.
Baji's exciting. By the way, shout out Jimmer. Jimmer Fredette could get a gold medal this summer in the 3-on-3.
For which country?
USA.
Oh.
Is
he the honorary Robbie Hummel?
Basically,
okay.
Yeah. You know what? Get a gold medal.
White guy who can shoot in 3-on-3? Yeah. Okay.
Hell yeah. This one from David. There's another report from Fisher about Portland trading for the 3rd pick. Any new info to validate that? Also, do you think JG gets traded at the draft or deadline?
So Jake didn't report new info. He confirmed that Portland had conversations with Houston.
That doesn't always mean what it sounds like it means. You know what I mean? It's just like, yo, what are you doing? Okay, great. Bye.
We talked about this last week. We mentioned this when it came up. I go, have they done their due diligence? Yeah, I've heard they've done their due diligence. I have not heard one iota about them like actually tangentially like going, yes, we're going, like let's figure out the framework for this deal so we can move up. Like, I don't think you really are getting there yet. I think you'll have those discussions probably around Tuesday.
This one from Zach, and I think I know the answer to this one. Delano, is he coming back? We got Banton back?
I mean, as it stands right now, yeah, but he's also the cheapest thing to waive because
they need to pivot out. They can.
200,000 guaranteed, I think. It's 200 or 250. I can't remember off the top of my head. But his contract's not guaranteed until January 12th, so it's a big window for them to work with.
This one from Jonathan. I hear a lot about who the Blazers should draft at 7-14, but I haven't heard a lot about projecting the Blazers board. Who do you think their stack ranked 1 through 7? Also, do you think there's a better than 50% chance they trade up from number 7?
No, I don't think there's a better than 50% chance they can trade up. I would say it was probably a less than 10% chance they trade up. But that's also like a big number. So, in the sense of do I think that the right possibility happened that they could or would? Yeah, they absolutely could. As far as the Blazers board, if I had to guess, Clingan's probably 3rd on their board too. Mm-hmm. I would say it's probably Sar, Riza-Shea, Clingan. No, he's probably 2nd on their board. Sar,
I was going to say, you think Riza-Shea is ahead of Clingan for them?
No, I think Clingan might be ahead for them. I think it'd be Sar, Clingan, Riza-Shea. And then it'd be let's just say Salon, then Cody.
And that's like a 1A, 1B thing for them,
yeah,
probably. Dalton's got to be next, right?
You might put Castle in there just as a pure prospect, not like if you're talking best player available. I think you might put him ahead of those guys, but I don't think it would be their actual draft board. And then probably Dalton. And then I think it breaks down into Modest, De Silva, George.
Modest and Holland being drafted by them for show purposes would be the funniest outcome.
It would mimic a lot of me having a fucking meltdown in 2016 in Las Vegas when they signed ET and Crab to those deals. I've mentioned it before on the radio where I screamed a pile of obscenities in a room full of like 25 people, all of which were other writers who were laughing at how stupid they were at those deals.
You mean when Neil panicked and paid Evan because he's like, shit, dude, I got to get somebody.
I got to pay somebody. Yeah. There was a couple executives and a couple scouts in the room for a Western Conference team who were like belly laughing at how they're like, there's no way that's real that they did that.
Live on air at a Buffalo Wild Wings. We were a night show, and we got that Evan Turner news, and I went, "What? Evan Turner?
Belly
For
laughing.
70 million?"
They just, but yeah, I think that's
Shout out Neil, by the way. Evan still gives him credit for that. Dude, didn't think I was gonna get that kind of bag, and then Neil just stepped in and was like, "Yo," I'm
here
like,
you go.
Hey, okay.
I think you're probably tacking in Kalel Ware there, right around the same tier as De Silva. Edie's an interesting one because I've heard that they like him from multiple people, and I've heard he had good workouts, but I don't.
If you're looking for a big of any, and you're not moving up from 7, you go get your wing.
If you got him at 14,
I wouldn't be. I won't be shocked if they go that route.
I know I won't be shocked. I probably again I'll have the same questions just to a lesser extent.
Sure. All right, let's rattle through these. Big J, what will be the post-draft drink of choice? I don't know if you'll be like a midnight type drink for you because we're doing the pod and then you're going to race over to the facility.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
mine's pretty boring and bland. I don't really drink anymore. Diet Coke. There you go.
That's it? You're not going to rush it down with an energy drink like me?
No, because I'm going to have to wake up at 4 a.m. the next day.
I'm not going to have a fresh mojito?
Probably not. I like a mojito, but probably not. I'm really boring that way. I'm a dad of 2 people, man. Like,
so you want something stronger?
You want me to get loose and jiggy with it? Okay, this one from Adam. Any projected lottery picks that you would be upset to see Portland take at 7? And if taken, is there anything that the Crone Zone could say to make you feel more confident in them and their choice? Nightmare scenario here for you would be Mattis. And could Joe say anything to make you go, I was raging about it 2 hours ago. Now I'm not raging.
Buzelis is between the two of them, the one that I mentioned this in my mock drafts on them. If you legitimately believe the shooting is going to come around and he's going to have better functional body control, which I think is shooting, I can see how you come to that.
Game against Cooper Flag? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see Cooper Flag annihilate him, you mean? That's what I saw.
What? No.
I saw him take him to the rim and absolutely yam on him like he was not there.
Buzelis is skinny, man.
Cooper's already got like 30 pounds on him. And Cooper's not that big.
I know. I hate that he's a Dookie. Now I'm going to be excited to watch Duke games. Sucks.
That team's going to be so good. It's going to be so good.
It better be.
They paid a lot of money for that team. They better be.
Yeah, they sure did.
But no, you could. There's a pitch on Buzelis. Again, I'm not out on him. If you took him at 7, I'd be like, okie doke.
Yeah.
I like his mentality. I do. I like the fact that he's out here challenging Regis Shea, and I like. I've heard he's a hard worker. He's a team guy. Like a lot of the intel around him is better. I think than people are willing to give credence to. I've mentioned this as a comp for Blazers fans to understand. He reminds me of Zach Collins, where he's big for no reason. It's like, yeah, Zach's 7 foot tall, but what does he use it for?
Right.
He doesn't really use it to shoot over guys. He's not an effective like rim finisher or post scorer. He's not a guy like who is a hyper like active like put it on the floor like rim pressure 7 footer. Like he's 7 foot for what? He's not a great rebounder. He's an okay shot blocker, better weak side shot blocker. Like Modest being big is good if he can access it, but I don't know if he was ever going to have the ability to access what he is. Does that make sense?
No, that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get that. I'll shorten it and just say, like, I don't think they're going to do anything insane. Like,
Ron Holland at 7 would be a clear cut, like, yo.
I would be. That's probably the thing that would be the most shocking thing to me in this draft.
Well, that's what I'm saying is like, I don't think they're going to do anything like that. So, like, there's a range of like 6 people that they could take at 7 that I'm not going to be like, nope, I'm out.
Because this draft's such an unknown that it's just like, I told you guys, I'm going in I'm trusting the Crone Zone here. So for me, no. I don't think there's a pick at 7 they could make where I'd be like, oh my God, I'm so outraged. I think they're going to go with their evaluations and trust it as much as they possibly can. Question from Brad Street Racing. What is our perfect team that you would like to see them going into next season with, meaning draft pick, trades, etc.? Not what's best for the organization, but for you personally. I guess we could just answer this with what 2 picks paired with you've moved, obviously, some stuff around.
Mm-hmm. I think if you can come out of this with a guy that you're comfortable being your starting 3 or 4 plus another piece is a good draft. Whether that's drafting Cody Williams, drafting Tijon Salon, trading for a young forward type. Again, his name's come up, not in rumors, but it's the name that people constantly attach to the Blazers, Jabari Smith Jr. Like, if they came out with a guy like that, I'd be like, well done.
Can I ask you some on that? Because I don't disagree with that. Would it kind of be organizational malpractice to be trading Jabari at this point?
Sure, but we've also talked about Noah Vonleh, who was, a guy who the team just said, pfft. And if that was the price for them to get Ime doesn't want to coach kids. Like, that's
no, I know, yeah,
that's very evident at this point in time. So, and he feels like the guy that's getting squeezed out. Like, if there was an opportunity for Portland to get him and it didn't cost you everything on your roster, I think that would be a move they should definitely look at. But that's the kind of thing where, like, if they came out of this with a guy, a 3 or a 4, where you're like, that there's real upside, I can see this player being a starter alongside Scoot or Shea or just Scoot or just Shea, whatever that maturation, alongside Ant, whatever decisions they make in the backcourt, I think that's a success.
Where
are you?
This one from what?
Where are you at with it?
No, I mean, it's a very boring answer, but it's largely the same. It's like,
if you're solving positional needs that you clearly need on the right timeline,
with upside,
yeah. Which, we've talked about, I think, ad nauseum at this point, but the upside thing is a pretty big one, especially considering how talented next year's seems to be and where we kind of know what the MO is of the season. So I think if they can get out of it with that, then I'm okay with it. And obviously trading the right. I think obviously we're sticking with the Dame trade stuff because we still have Malcolm. But I'm curious what Time Lord does.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, does Malk go on draft night? And if he does,
what's that price? Who's the team? What does that include? So, I think some of that is just hard to project out because we don't know what that is at this point, 5 days out. But you address some positional need, you swing on the upside. Maybe you get back a young prospect. You mentioned Jabari. That's a name, certainly. I know he doesn't like the young guys, but I don't know. I don't think as an organization I could do that. Like, that quick, there we go, I'm out. You're not winning the West next year. It's foolish to think you have a legit chance if you make one trade.
Well, I don't think it would be one. That's the thing. Is like Houston's a spot I've heard for if Phoenix did move Kevin Durant, if Miami did move Jimmy Butler. Like, Houston.
I just don't think that team's winning the West.
I think you look at it like much like the Mavs did this year. You make moves and you see what happens.
Hope for the best matchups.
Yeah, like that's yeah, legitimately. And if you've got enough oomph behind it, you make something happen.
Jake wants us to draft the scenario where we draft Bronny, sign Braun, find invent time machine, go back and get 2014 Braun. 2014 Braun, I'm in. I'm all in.
Look, I prefer 2012 Braun, but I guess I'm just being picky at that point in time.
What is your favorite Braun? Is it 2012?
2012. The one that went to the Balco lab. That's my favorite Braun. The one that put on 40 pounds in a summer and became both the steamrolling monster in the open court that we saw in Cleveland, while also being the most dominant post player in the NBA too. Like, that's the guy that I want.
That Braun is probably the right answer by a vast majority of the people. My favorite Braun, I think I've decided my favorite Braun is second Cleveland.
Second tier
Aaron
Cleveland.
Bond.
Yeah, the title
Because
winning Bond. Yeah.
You could just see the mental. It was like watching the guru, right? Like who's not maybe as quick or fast as the up and
The
coming.
clarity.
Just it was, yeah, dude. He was just like matrixed. He was just like, nope.
Oh, Toronto, you're gonna do something? Backboard game.
Nope.
Get out of here. Bye. Like, and he had Kyrie. I mean, I could go on a rant for days about Braun. He should have 6
No,
rings.
there's stylistically, you're not wrong.
I just
Like
love
there was like the cerebral stuff was so overwhelming.
insane.
Then. The
Yes.
physical stuff in 2012 was just like
Can't argue that.
that was 96 Shaq. It was like, good luck.
What state was he living in at that time when he randomly gained like
Florida?
one? Oh, anything
way.
weird happened there? No.
Oh,
Okay.
definitely not a Pelican
Andrew,
lab.
I didn't say anything. That's Andrew wants to know what teams you expect to make the biggest surprise on draft night.
Which team makes the biggest surprise?
What team? Let's teams, but let's pick a team. Are there any
Atlanta
teams?
feels easy.
Do you think they
because-
trade out or just
No.
Trade-
But
get
I think there's a real chance they take one of Reza Shea or Clingan, which I think would be a surprise considering like Sar was the number 1 for so long.
yeah?
But yeah, that feels like cheating. Charlotte. Charlotte's the one that's going to be surprising.
Does Charlotte trade up to 3 to get Reed?
I told you about that, 2 weeks ago? That I heard that Charlotte was kicking around Reed.
But they like Reed.
It's been sitting in the back of my head for a while. Like
Trying to think what that trade looks like.
Miles Bridges sign and trade. Like
Boy, that moves the needle.
I mean,
Oh.
I don't. I'd have to sit down and really take a look at it. But they've quite and Reed plays off ball really well, and LaMelo's so big that it kind of becomes like a who's a 1 versus who's the 2 situation. Like it's just I don't know. Like that Charlotte's the one for me. I think
Doesn't
they
this
could
have
get
to be the
weird.
Spurs?
Yeah,
two
yeah,
picks?
because they have 2 picks. Yeah, they could
They have
go
2
super
picks?
weird with it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm going to go Spurs, and I'm going to trust what they do because, man, they've got a generational guy.
All right, let's get a few more in here. This one's interesting.
Terrence Shannon. This one's from Lunatic Fringe Dog. Terrence Shannon. Why is he rated so much lower than some of the other guards / wings? People have mocked him to PDX. He looks like a top 15 player at worst to me. I'm assuming the off court, he's cleared of the off court stuff. Terrence Shannon is an interesting name to bring up because I remember watching him going, man, this dude is electric.
He's a good player. I'm trying to think back to like mocks early in the year. I don't think he was ever a lotto guy. I think he was a first round guy who's probably fallen out of the first round and kind of worked his way back in as, let's be clear, the off the court stuff was a rape charge.
Yeah, pretty big deal.
That's a big deal. Like that's not like he had a little tax fraud, little mild number manipulating.
Tax fraud.
It's
Didn't pay
NIL
his
nowadays.
NIL tax.
That's what I'm saying. It's NIL. Look, we are not that far away from a player going to jail for like tax fraud. Like it's
I know.
That's coming with the NIL stuff.
I mean, we had former NBA players go to prison for the health insurance.
Yeah, extorting the health insurance. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think he's a good player. I think he's a bit of a chucker. Which I mean, being a chucker is not inherently a bad thing.
Fared him well at Illinois.
Yeah, no, I mean, for sure. Until they went full dumb and decided to drive in straight lines at Donovan Clingan's chest. That's still the weirdest thing to me. I hear like fans talk about Donovan Clingan was so good, especially against Illinois, and I'm like, look, don't get me wrong, he was good, but Illinois was like, I challenge you to block this shot. And he was like, okay.
Yeah, they were a tiny
Straight line
team.
drive, just right at the 7-3 guy's chest. I was like, guys, I don't know, maybe you might want to Trojan horse this thing. They're not buying it anymore.
Let's not challenge a 7-3 guy at the rim. Seems stupid.
And it wasn't even like they were pulling him out and then like trying to like make him move. Like he was just sitting under the rim waiting for him. I'm like, the hell are they doing? Anyways.
This one from Jeff. It says, you guys do really solid work. First of all, we appreciate that, Jeff.
He's a liar.
wants to know, this is not an NBA question. Who do you have winning the cup? And right now, I just checked it because I'm missing it. I'm not
Oh yeah,
cupping.
no, it's running right now, baby.
Oilers are up 3-0.
Game 7.
They challenged a Florida goal and they took it off. So it's 3-0 right now.
You know what's best about
Edmonton in the
this?
second period.
You know what's best about this? Canada gets to have their heart ripped out even more.
You think they're losing 7?
Just snatched right out of their soul.
We are going to see one of the greatest athletic achievements, because I think the only other time this has happened from 3-0, it was in like the 40s.
NHL happened a couple years ago.
Not in the Stanley Cup.
Oh, you're right. Not in the Stanley Cup.
In
Yes,
the Stanley
you're right,
Cup, this is in the modern era. This dude, Connor McJesus here.
Connor McDavid.
I'm going Oilers, and I hope that they show that female fan. I hope that they live it up in Edmonton. And
Make sure it's a cable broadcast.
Hey, the internet exists for a reason.
It does.
This is interesting from Big Hoff. Orlando, any interest in Simon so far? Or is it just rumor stuff?
Orlando's had interest in Simons for a year and a half.
Does it feel real?
No,
traction?
2.5 years. 2.5 years. Like they've had real interest in Anthony for a while. Does it feel like real traction? I mean, like anything. I think they genuinely do like him, in the same sense that I think that there's been players that Portland has liked for years and just didn't really pursue. Like, I think for a long time they liked Aaron Gordon, and it was like, nah, I don't want to pay the freight. You know, that's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, beyond that,
This one from Victor Prance. Most likely going to trade Brogdon and Simon sooner or later, and we won't have almost any shooters after that. Wouldn't Connect be perfect for them at starting 3, backup 2 for them years down the road? He's a hard worker, fits the system.
Sure. I mean, if you want to go down that road, my point has always been with that, like, if you're prioritizing shooting because you don't have shooting as opposed to taking what you think is the best player available, does that make sense? I think you can make an argument, but for me, it would be further down the pecking order for me. And I like Dalton.
Yeah, I've made it known. Big Dalton guy. I'd love for them to take Dalton Connect.
We got to get a Dalton Roadhouse t-shirt going if they draft him.
I mean, let's not act like Dalton Connect in Portland isn't just like prime number
Roadhouse.
1. Yeah, it just makes a lot of sense. This one, I'm trying to go through them.
Go Rose House instead because it's Rose Garden. That's terrible. I'm sorry. It was so bad.
You gotta get your dad jokes out. All right, here we go. This one from Uncle Rick City Remix. Many people are saying Ryan Rupert will go in the lottery of this draft. Thoughts? Do you believe that?
No.
Would he go higher than where he was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Roop's got a green room invite last year. So, there's been some crossed up stuff with that, but like if you told me that he was somebody who's like, I could see him being a lotto guy with this group.
Sure.
I could believe it. I don't know how many people would buy it considering just how young he is and how little experience he got to have in New Zealand. Does that make sense?
No, that makes sense. This one from Zach. Would a package including 14, 34, and 40 be enough to move up a pick to a pick around 9 through 11 range?
14, 34, and what?
40.
I mean, that seems like...
So, like, if you... Let's go down this rabbit hole. You've drafted Cody Williams. Detroit said, no, we're going to go a different direction. They get Cody Williams.
And San Antonio passes on Salon.
San Antonio passes on Salon, and then Memphis is like, we'll take some stuff.
We'll move back.
Yeah.
If that's the freight, yeah, I think I could do that.
I'd imagine Joe, the Chrome Zone, would be pretty happy with
two premium seconds to move up 5 spots.
Yeah.
I think in a value scale, it's probably a little light in the pocket, but I think for a team like Memphis that has a lot of higher salaries, those 2 seconds, especially higher seconds, might be really useful to them.
Ryan wants to know, tacos or burritos?
I saw this one and I was dreading it because it scares me because
What's my situation?
I mean, I'm sure I need motivation. My answer is going to be tacos. Because the taco is the undefeated. The tortilla is the ultimate food delivery mechanism. It reigns supreme. It reigns over bread. It reigns over naan. It reigns over pita. The tortilla is goated. And there's different versions of the tortilla. You can have the corn tortilla. You can have the flour tortilla. It does not matter. But the taco, you can go soft. You can go crunchy. You can go, like I said, you can go corn. You can go flour. The only time the burrito, in my opinion, is clearly leaps and bounds better is when it is made by an abuela deep in somebody's family tree from scratch and then steamed and stretched out over whatever it's wrapped. And it's so tightly wrapped that it looks like a salad roll, like an Asian salad roll. It's like so thin. Like that's because it's so perfectly cooked. And I say that because the Rico's Tacos in Beaverton, the taco truck used to do them like that with carne asada. And mwah! But tacos won, burrito too. And it hurts me to say that, but the taco reigns supreme.
Yeah, first of all, there's not a loser here.
No, everyone's a winner.
I loved a good stretched out abuela burrito, but I'm gonna go. What? Oh, grow up, you. Gross. I'm gonna go.
You that hard pause caught me, man.
Hey.
You know what? That was your fault.
I'm sorry.
That was your fault.
Okay. I'm gonna go taco here. Taco. We've been going for over an hour and 20 minutes. What do you want from me?
What do you want from me?
The chat's just now catching up. Okay. Should we end it there?
We think we should end it. That's actually the last. Everybody's just now responding to each other, so I think that's it for us.
Perfect. All right, thank you all for listening. We went a little bit longer than usual. We stretched this show out a little bit.
I bet we did.
You can find us on social media at Danny Marang, at Brandon Sprague, at Jack Dramys. Email the show, jackdramys@gmail.com. Like I said, I've got Kristen Peak on the show on Danny and Dusty on Monday. We're still locking in the time because I think she's doing something for the NBA because she's a busy woman ahead of the draft. Corey Teleba and Casey Holdall on draft day, live on scene at 10 Barrel Brewing. Dusty and I, and then Isaac and Suk will be live at 10 Barrel. Brandon and I will be live doing a show during the draft, of which I will bail out back to the practice facility for press media availability with Joe Cronin following the draft. I've put it already out there on the messenger service on Patreon. We will do a film watch for whoever they draft, likely Saturday. I don't know what time because I need to see what time the introduction for the drafted players is going to happen on Saturday. That's where we're sitting with that stuff. So, thank you guys. We appreciate you. Like, rate, review, subscribe, help us grow the show, do all the things. Like I said, I'll have a mock draft out on Monday, as well as the final draft workout list as best as I know it, once I have it confirmed for as many people as I can. Beyond that, everybody have a awesome weekend. You got anything, Brandon?
No.
Cool.
Loaded shows on the radio station this week, getting into Wednesday. Jump onto the link as soon as you possibly can for the draft. We'll be live doing the draft together, as you mentioned. And then, fingers crossed that they make the picks that we all love.
Hey, even if they don't, it's content, baby.
It is. It'll be interesting.
Everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy this wonderful weather, and we'll catch you all on next week, yeah. Whatever comes up after
we'll figure
this
it
week.
out.
Yeah. Take care. Talk soon. Bye.